I'm going to take you on my journey with the wolf. The wolf is in the south on the medicine wheel. It is the teacher. It's also the same same energy as the coyote. It can be a bit of a trickster. As a young child, like many people my age, I watched Lassie on television. This may have been a factor in my relationship to the animal spirit of the wolf. I don't know. I do know that my earliest dreams that I remember were um, off-world, out-of-body with the Mantis beings. But I got frightened and I didn't want to travel in the ship, in the vehicle, in that way any longer. And my dreams were still vivid, and I was spending a lot of time in my nighttime journey in the library and looking outside at the beauty of the nature, watching um, the world pass by the window like time-lapse photography. Trees would sprout and grow. Birds would go from egg to flight in just seconds, and flowers would turn into butterflies. And so I wanted to be part of that world as well. In my waking time, I did spend a lot of time outdoors looking at the nature, at insects, at earthworms, at praying mantis, at lizards and frogs, but we didn't have any pets. So when I stopped going on a journey with my companion, the tall mantis being, at about 4.5 years of age, I received a companion animal to travel with in my dream. And this animal was a gray wolf. I wasn't frightened by the gray wolf. The gray wolf was like animals I had seen at the zoo that I wanted to grab hold of and pet. Hyenas, lions, and traveling with the gray wolf was quite fun. All I had to do was take hold of its tail, and it would lead me. It would lead me to a door and show me how to go through the door, or to stand on the door, and the door would take flight. And we would end up in lots of interesting places, and I would get to see things that were like looking at the stories that I was hearing in Sunday school, or that were being read to me from books. It was like going to real places in real time and seeing those people working, living, being. And so my travels with the wolf were very, very soft and gentle and very, very fun and exciting at the same time. The wolf stayed with me a long, long time. In my real life, I had animals as well, and my relationship with the animals was to learn about how they acted and reacted to the environment. I learned about amnesia from a dog I had when I was 11. As a fairly young dog, it got hit by a car. It wasn't allowed out without being on a lead, and it just got loose with the door open, managed to make it to the curb, and the car was coming around, not going too fast. But the dog didn't remember who it was. It was very interesting to watch the dog not do the same things that it had done before it had the accident. After a few weeks went by, all of a sudden, it started to do the things that it had done before it got hit by the car, and we knew that it had gotten its memory back. Had the dog for 15 years. Um, when I was about 7 years old, a dog came to my house. I was home from school, and it took my hand. It took my hand tightly. It was a very large German Shepherd. I didn't pull my hand out of its mouth because I didn't want my skin to tear. So I just took hold of it, just like I did the dog in my dream. And it led me to its door. So I knocked on the door, and the lady answered, and she was astonished, shocked. She said, "Are you hurt?" "No." And she was, "Are you scared?" And I was, "No." And she said, would you play with my kids? Would you babysit my children? And so she would have me come to her house when I got out of school to play with her children while she would hang laundry on the line. Her little boys were like three and maybe 4.5 years old. So being there, because the dog was a retired police dog, and it frightened everyone else. So with these young children, she couldn't get her tasks done, and she didn't have any family living close by. By the time the little boys were about 7 and 8.5, I was old enough to babysit them for money, and that was lovely to be able to. She would give me money to come and babysit her children while she went to the grocery store, and I really had a great experience with that. Earlier, when I was about 6, we lived in the same house, and behind us, the people raised wolves, and I wasn't afraid of those wolves either. I would stick my fingers through the fence and let them lick my fingers, and I would scratch their nose, and I would take them bits of things to eat, scraps. And so my relationship with animals and with the wolf spirit was very, very firmly established. I didn't know that that this was important or that it had a higher purpose. But as I've gone through my life and had more experience, I will skip to a more recent time when the energy shifted about, I'd say 15, maybe 20 years ago. There was a lot of activity around the hybrid children, and the hybrid children are a process of the Mantis beings and what we call the reptilian beings. They were the fish beings originally, working to try and manipulate DNA, genetics, birth their own children. Reptilians don't birth children, so they're quite jealous of that. The Mantis also have a desire to increase the species, and if we look around us on the earth, when we have a time of great extinction going on, lots of marine life lost, there is an increase in the number of species that people are finding, botanists are finding, entomologists are finding in the insect world. And in the reptilians, the lizard species, the numbers keep increasing. They're finding new ones all the time. Same with the mantis species. So how they've been able to use humanity, and yes, I do mean use humanity through abduction experiences, to produce hybrids and to bring mantis species to the planet is very, very interesting indeed. In addition to the mantis beings, which are the ones that I know the most about, are other beings. Some of them that have been here on Earth and live in Middle Earth, some that live in different dimensions, but that we have glimpses of, or that we have a conscious relationship with or a history of from our own cultures. And one of those beings is called the giants. I don't know a whole lot about the giants. I've seen some of the information on skeletons that have been found, but the giants are coming as well, not just the not just the Mantis beings, not just the uh, gray beings. Yes, the giants are coming as well. I know this because I was on the one of the ships most recently, and I was tasked with going in to check on some animals. I wasn't afraid to do it. I agreed to do this. And these animals were huge, like small ponies, but they weren't ponies. They were dogs, and they were chin high, with their head basically face to face with me, and I'm between 5'5" and 5'9", so when you're standing face to face with a large dog, it's a large dog. And when I came out of the containment room, then a small being came and took me to basically a decontam room. And I didn't know what this small being was. I could describe it. It was small and hairy and playful as well, but I can't communicate with it really very easily telepathically, which I can do with the Mantis beings. And I learned most recently that it was a small Sasquatch. So because there are so many different types of beings that can manifest in and out of this dimension, some of them in physical form, just like us humans, having been part of that hybrid program, we're going to have a great deal more diversity on this planet in a very short period of time. And there have been some people that are in very high-level places who have either themselves or have been manipulated or have been purchased to try and stop this from happening, to try and stop the hybridization, to try and stop the individual, the wave that's coming through now of people who can communicate telepathically. They don't lose that, who have complete recall of their dream state or their superconscious state, and they can't do it. What is happening as well at this time is the children who are the hybrids and the different types of beings are learning to communicate together. They're learning to work together. They're learning about the different types of movements and the different types of greetings and comfort level and the different the different types of environments and sound and color that are important for all of them to be comfortable. The Mantis beings are very, very important there because they can see 12 to 15 different spectrums of color, whereas humans can see 3. They're very high frequency beings as well. So the frequency level, they read a great range of the sounds that we can't hear, and they can communicate with other animals who can hear sounds even lower than theirs, and there's probably some even higher. I think there's beings that go all the way up to the 15th dimension. And in the process of trying to interfere with our the process of coming now, the hybrid beings have been they have been used in different by different people to try and affect humanity in a negative way. They have experimented on some of these individuals, which is a quite horrific thing to do. But they've also experimented on our human children and our human population, and we have history of that going back to the vaccination. It's amazing that the vaccination was rolled out at exactly the same time as indole pigment. Indo was isolated by Bayer from Bayer Pharmaceuticals in 1917. It is this blue pigment which is quite important for the communication to take place for our um, uh, metabolism to work properly, and that is one of the things that this ecstasy drug that is patented and manufactured by Merck Corporation interferes with. So all of these things are coming together right now, but the interference that has been done by these people that are called the Illuminati or the New World Order, it has had a negative effect on them as well. And when they are not fully informed because they cannot receive and manage and interpret all of the information that is out there in a world like this with all the levels of secrecy that go on, a lot of the things that affect them very negatively have come back and backfired, so that they are affected in a very, very bad way by these pollution, by the chemicals, by the genetic manipulation themselves. And what they are going to have to understand is humanity is an umbrella of people. You put that umbrella over the top of us and it should say human, and underneath that it doesn't matter whether your skin tone is dark or light or yellow or white or red or brown. It doesn't matter. We're human. And then amongst the humans, we have a lot of people with DNA that has additional uh, Mantis, reptilian, heaven knows, lots of different kinds of, and we have that anyway, because we are eating animals. We are eating plants and insects at the same time. It just is naturally in our food. And so we have that DNA going into our body anyway. And then we have DNA going into our body from vaccinations as well, from other species. And in about 2009, I was not well, and I didn't understand why I was not well. And I went to a spiritualist meeting, and at that time, that's when I got my name, Little White Wolf. And the gray wolf left me. He didn't travel with me on my journeys anymore. He said, I have hurt my paw. And he left, and I got Little White Wolf, and that was my name. But I just met the Little White Wolf in my dream state a few times, and it gave me some symbols to see, to know that I was traveling in the right direction when I went into the dream state. And I missed traveling with the gray wolf. It was something that was familiar and exciting that I enjoyed doing. And I didn't understand what was happening. So it took me a long time to wake up and remember all of the experiences that I've had, the near-death experiences that I've had, the out-of-body experiences that I've had. And it took me a long time to be willing to talk about those openly, and about being taken on a ship or having an implant in my foot, or to share that with people other than just possibly my close family and my husband, my children. So to be able to talk about that openly is imperative now, because people have to understand that this is happening and it's real, and there are individuals who have been working with these children and these beings of different appearance, and they are just beings. And some of them have been here for a long time, some of them are just arriving now, and at all levels in between. Most of them are quite good, not all. So as I tried to understand why I what happened, what was the issue with the white wolf, and it was that that transferred, that energy went to, I arrived at the point where I was meant to go, traveling with the gray wolf, and my more mature, more spiritual, more educated, and more open self was at the point where I was to do the task with helping to care for not only the other beings of the bipedal or humanoid type, but also there will be a few more animals coming in to the planet with these beings as well. And if we put all of the animals under one umbrella and say that's nature, then we should put humans and beings that communicate and take care of the planet under one umbrella as well. We shouldn't be separated according to our age and our ability and our political spectrum and where we live in the planet. And above that, we've got the birds, and the birds are crying out, and the winged animals are crying out as well for this message to come through, so that as we reach this critical point of convergence, the last epoch ending and the new one beginning, that we will recognize the spirit of the animals as being essential for the recovery of this planet. And there will be some not so very nice creatures brought and needed for the ocean to recover and for some of the land areas to recover too. So as we have a world with boundaries now that have to do with immigrations and passports and borders, we may have a world with some borders in the future that have to do with recovery of the earth and the earth energy. And so that was my journey with the wolf, and this message is sent from my heart because I felt like I wanted to give respect to the wolf.